Afternoon. It is Thursday, 3 p.m. and welcome to Take the Lead Live. I'm your host, Marc Seal, and I'm here with you Thursday at 3 as I am every Thursday at 3 because I love doing the show. And we've got a great show for you today, but if you're new and you don't know what Take the Lead is all about, it's basically a show for guitar players by a guitar player, and we just try to come together as a community of people that love music, love the guitar, and the people that play them, and just have great discussions. We learn on the show. We talk about effects. We talk about recording. We show videos that are inspiring to bring inspiration to you, to encourage you to continue playing guitar. You're also a huge part of the show, and you do this by interacting via the polls. We'll have a poll up on your screen, which is the Take the Lead section, where you will tell me what I'm going to do later on in the show. We'll also throw out some trivia questions throughout the show, where if you're in the chat room and you answer the trivia correctly, you'll win strings or some kind of prizes from Elixir, who has been a great sponsor of our show, really since day one. They've been awesome, and we really appreciate all that they do for us here. And we also like to feature your videos. In fact, we have a video that came in today from Florida from a guy named Dale, and we're going to take a look at his video today. That'll be awesome. But I think that's pretty much everything you need to know, other than you probably should get really involved in the chat room and ask questions and throw comments out. They will put them on the big screen that I'm looking at, and so I can see your questions and comments as they come in. And during the show, I'll be able to answer those for you and just really interact and connect with you guys. Aside from that, Take the Lead starts now. All right, today's show, you guys picked it, and the way you picked it was via social medias and email blast that we sent out, where we asked you what you guys wanted to see in terms of bands and songs, and really we came back with Zeppelin, and the good news was it was mildly dealer's choice and that I get to pick the song. But we're going to talk all things Led Zeppelin today. You can see my shirt. I've worn it on the show before, so I wish I hadn't, so that it was fresh today. But I've only got like 30 shirts, but we've done 50 shows, so do the math. I need to buy some more shirts. That's basically what that's telling me. But today's Zeppelin, we're going to talk about kind of some of the sounds a little bit. We'll talk about what made Zeppelin unique, why they're one of my top 5 favorite bands, and also why Jimmy Page is one of my, really one of my 5 guitar teachers growing up, because I just burned out those Zeppelin records as a kid, and when I was first playing guitar, I learned a pile of riffs. In fact, for today's show, I was thinking, gosh, I don't play Zeppelin riffs, actively. I don't just pick up my guitar and play Zeppelin riffs anymore. But I made a list about literally 20 minutes ago, half hour ago, and I'm like, what are just songs that I remember playing or songs that I've taught over the years? So I've got a list that I'll be working off of just little riff ideas. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these, again, I didn't go back and scour these and try to play them perfectly. What I did is I made working versions of them that I remember how to play basically, or versions that I taught younger kids to make them, manageable for them to learn. And a lot of them will be pretty excellent, I think. But today we're going to break down the song 10 Years Gone, and the reason I chose that one is there's 3 elements in the opening main 2 riffs of the song that kind of encompass what Zeppelin did and what we all love and know as the sound of Led Zeppelin. And so we're going to break some of that down, and then again, as we go along, one of the cool things about this that you're not going to get on YouTube from watching a video of somebody breaking this stuff down is ask me questions in real time. I may or may not have the answers, but if I do, I will give them to you, or I'll make one up. So either way, you're going to get some kind of an answer, and it's going to be cool. I think with that, we should probably just jump right in. If there's any questions or comments from Peter right out of the gate, man, how many of those Zeppelin t-shirts do you have? 1, but it gets washed every week, and I wear it about every 3 weeks, so it's in rotation for sure. And it's such a bummer because so many of these shirts are so cool, but what's happened, I may have mentioned this on the show the other day, because I have my Johnny Cash shirt too. I'll find a cool shirt, and all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, it like hits a Walmart or a Marshalls or something, and then everybody's got the same shirt, and it's just a bummer. But again, how do you go wrong with a cool Zeppelin t-shirt? It beats the heck out of wearing a suit for a living, so I'm pretty grateful in that regards. So the song, if you don't know it, it's called 10 Years Gone. I'm going to play through a little bit of it right out of the gate here. I'm going to throw some effects on here and listen to the different parts, and then we'll talk about what's actually going on. So the song starts off with kind of an electric clean guitar. The other thing you'll want to note on this too when you go back and listen to it is that there's a lot of guitars going on. So that's one of the challenging parts. Like, I haven't watched Song Remains the Same in years, and some of these songs I have no idea how he pulled these off live or which parts he would play. So for me, I try to stick to the most dominant part of the song, or the one that most people hear, even though there's a lot of other parts supporting it. So in the case of this tune, it's going to sound like this. Let's go to a pickup here. A lot of phase. Let's turn some of that off. And then it goes into your basic rock riff. And ultimately goes back. And then down the road, there'll be a solo in there. And if this is something that you guys are enjoying on this show, we're going to cover those first couple parts there. As we go down the road here, if you guys want to ultimately learn that solo, I can go back and find a good transcription, figure out how to play it, and present it to you guys. But for now, let's stick with those main components and let's talk about what's going on. The first thing I like about the beginning of the song is a basic A chord, right? And it's just a kind of a clean electric, a little bit of effect. I had too much effect on there, but you get the idea. Plays an A chord, picks up the third finger so you get that open B string. And then hit the third string, back to the second string. And then we're going to go to this. This is like an F, what is this? Kind of an F major 6, with a major 7 with a 6 in it, or 13. And all that is second finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, first finger 2nd fret 3rd string, and 3rd finger on the 3rd fret 2nd string, along with the 1st string open. And then he plays different little fills in here. The basic way I keep time on this, I would just probably play 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, back to my A chord. Now, on the A chord, when I play the first part, I'm not hitting the 1st string open. I'm just going up to that 2nd string, picking that up, 3rd string, back, and then that chord. Now, I've seen people voice it where they play the same thing and then go to your 3rd, 2nd, and 4th finger instead of 1, 2, 3. However you want to voice it. Again, I'm not trying to make this difficult. I'm just trying to give you a general idea. But what I love about the song is just using kind of a basic chord, playing a couple of extra notes in there to make the chord sound, make the progression a little more interesting and have a little bit of melody in there. And then with that kind of ethereal chord right there, you've got that major, and again with that 1st string open, that's your major 7. But that note, that D, is adding our 6 to that chord. So it's kind of like a major 13. No 5th, obviously. And so that's the riff, starting out with. And I do encourage you to go find great transcriptions of this. Again, we talked about transcriptions last week. Go online, Ultimate Guitar or wherever, find a transcription, look at the reviews, make sure people are digging the basic vibe of it, and this will get you really close. The tone on that's clean. I went to my bridge pickup to have a little more bite on it, a little bit of verb on it, obviously, because it's pretty ethereal and kind of wet. And then what happens is after he plays that particular riff, what ends up happening next is he plays this kind of cool thing where there's an A chord, goes into strumming now, so not as much of that arpeggiation, strumming. Then he goes to this interesting, it's an E flat diminished 7 chord, which I'll show you that voicing that I'm playing, is 1st finger, 1st fret on the 4th string, 3rd finger, and this is the tricky one. People always want to put their 2nd finger there. Put your 3rd finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string, 2nd finger is on the 1st fret 2nd string, and pinky is on the 2nd fret 1st string. So really it's 1, as far as frets go, 1, 2, 1, 2, and also as far as fingers, it's 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, and so he strums on the A. Then he slides up to an E minor or E minor 7, and so I do an E minor, I think, and it's down, down, up, down. Move over to a D major 7. Again, we covered these chords on previous shows, but the D major 7 is 5th fret 5th string with your 1st finger. We're going to go 7th fret 4th string with your 3rd finger, 2nd finger 6th fret 3rd, and 4th finger 7th fret 2nd. And I always leave that open E string on the first string open and slide that down to a C major 7, same thing. And so if I leave that on that D chord, just for the critics out there, if I leave that open E string, that's actually going to become a D major 9. But it sounds like this, that whole part. A to the E flat minor diminished 7. Okay, so what I like about what's going on here is he didn't just use stock voicings of open chords. Like in the first part, we saw the open chords, and we'll see that throughout a lot of songs like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, or Thank You, or Tangerine, where he does big cowboy chords, open acoustic stuff. Here on the electric, he gets a little more creative with his parts. In fact, I think Jimmy Page's biggest strength, hands down, more than his guitar playing, was really his chord voicings, his composition of multiple guitar parts, as well as just the sounds that he used. He's almost like the edge before the edge in a lot of ways as far as being creative with those sounds. So basically we have this rhythm here. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the delay. And normally I would put a little bit of drive on here, but for the sake of kind of giving you an idea, I'm gonna keep it clean. Next thing I didn't point out was that a lot of these songs, he was brilliant in using altered tunings. I mean, a lot of different tunings on the guitar. When you're doing private half-hour guitar lessons, you don't have time to retune a student's guitar that's not going to be able to retune it ultimately anyways. So all the riffs I'm showing you today are more for showing what Zeppelin did, give you basic ways to play these riffs. And if you want to go deeper, obviously you can go into the tabs and say, oh, that song's got drop D tuning in it, and learn to play it the way that he actually played it. Or if you just want to pick up your guitar and play a lot of cool Zeppelin riffs that are pretty close and sound right, this is what this is about today. I didn't want to get too complex with it, obviously. So here I don't go to drop D tuning. I believe on the record he was in drop D, but we can do it without it. And what we do here is normally we would go 0 to 3 on the 6th string here. I'm going to go 0 to 1. In fact, I think I would do 2 to 3 on the drop D tuning. Anyways, it doesn't matter. 0 to 1. I do a hammer on there. You could pick it. Doesn't matter. I'm not worried about that. It's more about the notes. And then 0 to 3 on the 5th string. Open on the 4th, and then 3rd fret to 2nd fret. And this is where it gets more like Kashmir in this part. Well, actually, that part right there is more like just a pentatonic minor riff that he would do with more single notes, like you'd find in riffs like Moby Dick or The Ocean, or riffs where it's just more single note riff rock, even Black Dog and A Whole Lot of Love, for example. So I do a hammer on 0 to 1, 0 to 3. I hit both those, and then 3 to 2 on the 4th string, and then 5th string open. And here's where, to me, it gets a little bit more like Kashmir. He starts coming up with these neat intervals of chords, so they're not just power chords or triads, but you're going to hear some kind of chords that kind of grind against each other a little bit. That riff sounds like this going into it. And what I did here also is I'll take my 1st finger here, maybe to my 3rd here, but then I'll go to my 2nd here because I want to set up what's happening next, which is 0, 3, 2. 1st finger's down, and I'm going to hit that and then leave that down while I hit the 5th string open with it, creating an A5 power chord. So you can hear it kind of fills out. If I throw on some phaser, throw on a little bit of delay, maybe a slapback delay as well, it starts getting that kind of watery Zeppelin sound. If I had a little chorus, starting to get a little too wet, so I'll back off a little bit on that, but you get the idea. So once I get there, we're going to go to the part that I think is really cool about this song. This is where the chords kind of rub against each other. So on this chord, we're going to hit, while that's still ringing, I'm going to hit the 2 middle strings, and I'm going to add my pinky to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. So, and then back up. So it's really just 2, 4, 2 on the 3rd string while having all those other notes ring. Now, what you have to know when I'm doing this gig, which I'm looking at a big clock and a bunch of comments and stuff. So when I look at the clock, I realize we have very little time to do this stuff. So when I go fast, know that I'm going fast, knowing that you guys can go back, and the good people at FUGU, they've got the VODs, which stands for Video on Demand. Tomorrow, this show will be up. You can go watch it. You can rewind 100 times and really work off the video. That's the beauty of this thing. So realize, I know if you're new to this, I do talk quickly, but again, it's a lot of times because we're in time crunch seconds, because I had a fat Starbucks before I got here today and I'm wired. But here's the riff. Then I hit the 5th string open again, and now I'm going to go to my 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, 1st finger on the 4th fret 3rd string, hit the middle 2 strings 2 or 3 times, and add my pinky to the 6th fret on the 3rd string. So, and I can hammer that on or hit it again. I'm not concerned about the picking so much as the voicings. And then I'm going to slide my 1st finger down to the 2nd fret 3rd string and add my 3rd finger to the 4th fret on the 4th string. Okay, so it's, and there I hit the 5th string again. And occasionally I'm not hitting the 5th string at any regular interval. It's more about trying to keep that 5th string just ringing, so the bass note's actually active there. So it sounds like this. Here I might hit the 5th string a couple of times, and then I'm going to hammer on my pinky to the 4th fret on the 3rd string and back up. And then add my 2nd finger now to the 3rd fret 4th string, play the same thing. Back to my 5th fret power chord A. Okay, so it sounds like this. Now there's a tremendous amount of effect on there. I didn't have a ton of time to prep this. And I'm going to also be clear, my voice sounds funky. I had the worst flu I've had in 5 to 10 years this last week. I'm all better, I'm not contagious, and I'm on the mend, but still a little congested. It was a rough week, so bear with me. But I'm going to clean this all up for you right now. Play everything slow, just with the clean settings, so you can kind of hear all that's what I just did there. The effect was really, if you listen to the song, there's multiple guitar parts, tons of effects going on. I wanted to kind of somewhat emulate a more wet sound. But here's the basics of everything we just did today. And I'll show you one other thing that I might think you might consider when you're playing that main riff. So it sounds like this. I'm going to go slower here. So the last thing I might add is that a while back we did a show on hybrid picking. This is a pretty cool song to give a little bit of work on that. If you want to do hybrid picking, it's going to be fingers 2 and 3 on your right hand. And on this main riff, if I do this, I might use my hybrid right here. All fingers. Okay, so the point there is this song is made to be incredibly inclusive. You could use your finger picking on the whole thing. It's just a cool riff, a cool series of chords, and one of my favorite songs by Zeppelin. I thought it was a great example of how they do all of their, there's bits of all their other songs in that song in terms of, we think about something like a Moby Dick where it's just a pentatonic. Right, there's that. Right, you get that, or you think of. Right, you get that, same thing. All those kind of trippy chords going on together, and you think of, just basic chords. You kind of get that same thing in the intro there. So there's a lot of great stuff that Zeppelin did. And in making this list of songs before the show, I just started thinking of songs that I know and love. And they all had, one of those three elements in there, either the clean chord stuff, the pentatonic or minor scale riff rock stuff, or the kind of trippy effects with the chords that were a little more grindy than most. And I just made that word out. That was good. All right, let's take a few questions and see what's going on with you guys. From Rocktown, how you doing? Good to see you on the show today. And you're asking, what amp setting should I be using for a 70s hard rock Zeppelin tone? Well, that would obviously depend on the amp that you're using, but a lot of times, a lot of them use Marshalls and blew those things out like Hendrix, and they would crank them up. I think a good way to get more of a vintage or a classic rock tone in today's world is get a great single channel amp, a Fender Deluxe, or anything that you like that's reasonably priced, and something that you can get a little bit of overdrive, a little gain on the front end of the preamp, and have it break up just a little bit, because you can always roll your volume back and clean it up. But when you have a little bit of breakup on the clean side, and then go on a wild goose chase of finding your favorite overdrive pedal. Go watch, I mentioned Sean Tubbs last week, or Pete Thorne, or Anderson's. Go watch some of their videos on overdrive pedals and figure out what level of gain you want, and just throw a pedal in front of that amp. So you'll have your uber clean sound if you roll the volume back. If you want your just little bit of breakup sound, you're going to be able to bring that volume all the way up. And lastly, if you want to rock it out a little bit, you can have your distortion pedal, or even have an overdrive pedal and a distortion pedal, which will really give you almost 4 levels of gain. You're super clean, a little bit of breakup, some overdrive, as well as some distortion. That's a good way to go. It gives you a lot of options when you're playing live, which would be great. From Greg, hey Greg, I'm having a lot of trouble with the timing when playing songs by Zeppelin. Some of them just don't start. Some of them start kind of odd. I don't know, any tips? 100%, dude. And it's funny, because I was listening to 10 Years Gone on the way over here to try to remind myself what I was going to do today and what the song sounded like, more of the details. So I'm driving, I'm listening, and I'm thinking, wow, even just vocally where Robert Plant comes in, if I had to try to cover that song authentically, it'd be hard, because where he's playing and where the vocals are coming in are weird. I think about Black Dog, right? When he's got that second part of Black Dog where it's that two extra, I think there's one extra note in there when you play the riff that throws the whole thing off, yet they all hit it. So I totally know what you mean. Also, you think of Stairway to Heaven going into the solo, da-da-da, there's one extra little like eighth note in there, or something that just throws the whole thing slightly off when you're trying to play along. So my advice on that, unless you're in a tribute band or you're playing those songs in front of people note for note, I would consider not trying to learn that. And the reason I say that, and this may just be total heresy, but you're almost learning, and I don't want to say a mistake, but you're almost learning something that's odd enough where you kind of don't want to do that in most situations. And so, playing a little more straight might be better if you're working on timing. Again, if you're trying to cover the song straight up, then you just got to hear it and feel it and get as close as you can. But the other thing you'll notice is there's times where Page hits something and then you hear a kick drum slightly before or slightly after. They were not Locked. They were not Rush. They were not Yes or Dream Theater. They had definitely a loose, sloppier feel, but it's some of the best music ever made. So go figure. Maybe learn it, knowing that it is that great. Hume, what's up, dude? Hume's got a comment, and he says, I'm that strange person that's not crazy about Kashmir. You know what? I will be honest with you. I didn't even put that on my list of Zeppelin tunes. There's like 20 of them down there. I think it's so iconic, and we've heard it a million times, and it's cool, the first main part of it, but it doesn't, to me, it's not one of their better works either. For whatever reason, it's very popular. The opening riff's cool. I get it, but whatever. What was the first Led Zeppelin song I learned how to play? From Griffin. Hey Griffin, good to see you on the show. Thanks for coming out. What was my first Zeppelin tune? It very well, I really don't remember, but it could have been something like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, which is that, again, back to open chords. Something like that, that could have been one. I don't remember learning a whole lot of Love early, or like all the staple ones. I do remember learning at a pretty young age, Good Times, Bad Times. That was a cool riff also, that. And I remember being challenging this part here. This picking right here was a little bit tricky for me when I was learning how to play that. I remember that one being tricky, but aside from that, it was just I listened to so much of it, but I didn't have a guitar teacher. My first real lesson I ever had was when I went to GIT week 1. I just used to watch TV, watch MTV, and try to figure stuff out, use my ear, record cassette tapes, listen, and occasionally watch guitar players that I knew play guitar and try to memorize what they were doing by watching. So I didn't have a lot of access to learning these things. Okay, we're gonna do a couple of things here. Let's do this. So first off, Dale sent in a video. Let's go over that really quick. And I got a trivia question for you, then we'll do welcome to the stage and so forth and so on. We're gonna move along. So Dale sent in this video. It got sent to me yesterday or day before. Really kind words, Dale. Thank you for all the nice words. And it's cool to see you on the show, and I hope you're having fun learning all this stuff. And I looked at the video just before the show. To be honest with you, I hadn't had a chance to look at it because I wasn't feeling well and I was trying to get some rest. So let's watch the video together, and I'm gonna try to come up with a quick solution for you or give you some help on this video. And if we have to go deeper with it, maybe we'll push it to another time. But let's take a look and see what we have going on. All right, so I'm assuming that's a version of Scuttlebutton because it's just a slowed down version because that tune is very fast. And ironically, I've never learned that song, but I did listen to it before we looked at this, and I looked at a quick tab like literally 10 minutes before the show. And so what I'm thinking about doing for that, the first thing I'm noticing is you're putting a swing feel to it, more of a shuffle to it. And it's actually one of his more straight songs in terms of, it doesn't have that, it's more da-da-da-da, almost more eighth feel to it. So I think what might help you with timing on that, and I'm just going to make this up, so please don't, I don't care, flame me, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to try to help you out with this. Here's what I might do. You're playing a little bit slower. We're going to get it where it's just consistent. And I think what I would do is I would try to put some opening lick that's really simple. The lick that he puts in there has got I think there's 5 eighth notes or 5 16th notes grouped together. It's a really trippy way he plays it, as only Stevie can play. But let's say we take that opening riff. Let's see. Let's take our second finger on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and slide to 4, and grab the 1st string with an upstroke. So I'll do. And then let's do 3, pull off to 2, pull off to 0 on the 3rd string, and then 2 on the 4th string. And then you don't have to pull off, but pick your finger up, and you'll get some kind of noise, or whether it's a click, something. You'll get this, and that'll give us a locked in amount of rhythm and time that we can put in between each phrase. So the first thing on the opening riff, I would probably do something more like, I'd probably grab the 6th string open, and I would grab this with an upstroke. So maybe, and then down on the 6th string again. And then here you might do down, up on the top 2 strings, right? So you get this, let's see. Or down, up, down, up, down. I'm not sure how you want to pick it, but I would try to get on those outside of those strings. So when you're jumping, and what I mean by outside, if you notice here I jump the 6th string downstroke, I go well past the first 2 strings, come up on those. Well past the 6 down on that. So I'm grabbing the outside of the strings, much easier than trying to get in between the strings. The only time I can't do that is on the 2nd riff, when I go up. And then down here, I've got to do it down up, and the reason I have to do down up because I have to hit these top 2 strings twice and still come back up and outside. So back to 6 and back to up. So logically, and again, I honestly have never played this riff in my life. That's probably how I would do that, and I do it relatively slow. In between that, so. At A7, I think. And this B7 sharp 9's a cool chord. So that's just my basic version of how I would do that. I would try to wire this. That's it. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Right, I would try to play that and get that wired, but then I would try to throw that one phrase. And that's kind of the vibe of the song, and I'm assuming that was the song we were doing. But that gives you maybe an idea how I might approach that. Lastly, I might even consider hybrid picking it, because again, if I'm not trying to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan, but I want to play the song or play it in a way that's comfortable or a way that I want to play it, I take so many liberties with other people's songs. Some people love that, some people hate it. You know, whatever side of the fence you are, go learn the song note for note if you want, or find a way that's comfortable. Hybrid picking, I would probably take my two fingers on my right hand like we did in the Zeppelin tune. And that's easier because now you can do the thumb thing. That's kind of a cool vibe, especially throw a little wah pedal, really get in here. All right, that was made up on the spot. If it was horrible, that's why. Anyways, that's the idea. Hopefully that helps you out. Okay, quick trivia question because I want to give away some strings, and Elixir wants me to give you guys some strings. They're much more generous than I typically am. So let's take a look at what the trivia question is. Oh, I know what it was. Here we go. Ready? Open up your Google window. Just kidding. What band was Jimmy Page in right before he was in Led Zeppelin? So we'll get to the answer to that after the Welcome to the Stage. For Welcome to the Stage, our fabulous producer Time picked out a cool live version of 10 Years Gone, so enjoy.